Solasta Crown of the Magister, the ultimate guide. What we will cover in this guide: all starting build options including races, classes and subclasses, best spells in the game, positioning and surprise attacks, navigating the main city with merchants and crafting options, and a lot of other tips and tricks. So let's begin immediately with starting builds. We start with dwarves. Heal dwarves are good as a tank or a bruisers. They're also great as a fighter class or a paladin class. If you go with a fighter class, champion or mountaineer subclasses are the way to go. Champion is great for two-hander melee weapons build, while mountaineer is great with sword and board. Heavy and medium armor is what this class and subclasses require. I would go with a sellsword or aristocrat here for both fighter and paladin dwarf. Ability scores are classic for a fighter: 15, 14, 16, 10, 9, 10. Fighting style for a fighter is again your choice. I recommend protection as number 1 if you go with sword and board, or if you plan to use two-handed weapons, great weapon fighting is the way to go. Saving throws, you just make sure you're gonna take acrobatics and history, and in languages you're gonna pick Old Tyrmerian. If you go with a heal dwarf paladin, Oath of Devotion is the most valid choice. I recommend Einar as the main deity. Again, aristocrat and sellsword are the way to go here. Lawkeeper is probably the best option for a paladin. Ability scores for our heal dwarf paladin will be 15, 12, 14, 10, 10, 14. Make sure you take athletics and persuasion with Old Tyrmerian language. We go to snow dwarfs now. They're great as rangers and fighters. If you decide to go with a fighter, apply everything I said for a heal dwarf. You can even dual wield axes or maces with snow dwarfs. Now, if you decide to go with a ranger snow dwarf, there are plenty of options, and my recommendation is taking marksman as the main subclass. Rogue is great in both melee and ranged, so you're gonna switch often. You'll fight a lot of undead at the start, so pick undead as your favorite enemy. You're not wrong if you decide to pick something else. Pick swamps as natural explorers, so you'll have easier time in the first big map. You will take low life for your ranger if you don't plan to use a rogue in your team. If you have a rogue, you will go with sellsword. Ability scores for our ranger snow dwarf will be 10, 16, 15, 10, 14, and 10. For low life snow dwarf, you will pick athletics, perception, and survival. For sellsword snow dwarf, you will pick stealth, perception, and survival, along with Old Tyrmerian language. Next in line are half-elves. They're good for paladin or clerics. If you go as a paladin, apply heal dwarf paladin build. Half-elf cleric now. Cleric is a weird class with tons of subclasses, and all of them are great. I'll recommend what I believe is the best. Attune Elemental Fire is by far the best, because you'll encounter a lot of fire damage dealing mobs and you'll receive cold spells later on to burst them. Einar Battle Cleric is recommended for harder difficulties, while Law is great on easier difficulties. Reason is simple: crowd control doesn't work at all on Cataclysm, so it's better to deal damage with Battle Cleric. Maraike Life Cleric is great if the rest of your team are focused on damage dealing spells and feats. Forget about Maraike on harder difficulties. Last in line are Pakri Clerics. I would not recommend playing Insight Clerics at all. Reason is simple: they receive useless spells for harder difficulties. If I had to pick one out of all of these options for Cleric, it would be Einar Battle Cleric without second thoughts at all. You'll get magic missiles, fireball and haste, stone skin, and all martial weapon proficiencies. It's a way to go, and it's the best way how you can play Cleric. So once more, we're gonna pick Einar Battle Cleric. For the background, Aristocrat or Acolyte is the way to go. Ability scores are 15, 12, 15, 8, 13, 10, with a point in Constitution and Wisdom. You will grab Athletics, Acrobatics, Insight, and Medicine. After that, your ancestry language will be Terran, and after that we take Ultimarian and Orcish. For cantrips, we will take Sparkle, Sacred Flame, and Light. High Elves now. They're wizards, while Sylvan Elves are classic rangers. We go with High Elves. So we pick a wizard as a High Elf. For the background, their best is Academic or Acolytes. Ability scores will go 10, 16, 15, 16, 8, 8. For saving throws, proficiencies, we will go with History, Investigation, and we're gonna take Terran and Ultimarian, as well as Orcish for background languages. Ancestry cantrip will be Light. 3 class cantrips will be Sparkle, Shadow Dagger, and Firebolt. Class spells for the start will be Burning Hands, Magic Missiles, Thunder Wave, Shield, Indetify, and Detect Magic. Sylvan Elves now. Sylvan Elves are rangers. We're gonna take Undead as well as Swamps for the early game. At higher levels, you want to pick Marksman as your subclass. For the background, Sellsword or Acolyte is the way to go. For ability scores, we go with 12, 16, 14, 10, 14, and 10. For Sellswords, we're gonna pick Stealth, Nature, Investigation, as well as Ultimarian. Now we got Marsh Halflings and Island Halflings. Marsh Halflings are best as rogues, so we're gonna pick a rogue for Marsh Halflings. If I had to pick one subclass for rogue Halflings, it would be Shadowcaster, because you will get some of the wizard spells that are very useful later on in the game. Low life is the way to go. Sellsword is not a bad option too for a background. For ability scores, we're gonna go with 10, 17, 16, 14, 8, and 8. For saving throw proficiencies, we're gonna go with Athletics, Acrobatics, Investigation, and Perception. After that, we're gonna go with Stealth and Perception. Island Halflings, they're best as rogues or rangers. It's your choice, and you can use one of the previous builds, but I would not recommend this class to anyone. At the end, I left humans behind. They're great in all classes and subclasses. You will use some of the previous builds at free will. Make sure you have one human in your party, at least one, of course. The more the better, because they can be everything from all classes and subclasses. I just gave you the best options through different races. The perfect party, or better to say perfect team composition, I'll give you a few options here. Human, Oath of Tirmar Paladin, High Elf, Shock Arcanist Wizard, Marsh Halfling Thief Rogue, and Sylvan Elf Marksman Ranger. Option number 2, Hill Dwarf, Mountaineer Fighter, Hill Elf, Shock Arcanist Wizard, Snow Dwarf, Marksman Ranger, and you get to pick between Marsh Halfling Rogue or Human Rogue. If your Sylvan Ranger has the ability to lockpick, you should take Shadowcaster for both Human or Halfling Rogue. Third option, Battle Lanar, Human or Half-Elf Cleric, High Elf Shock Arcanist Wizard, Sylvan Elf Marksman Ranger, and the last one are Human or Dwarf Fighters. Now make sure when you pick between Hill Dwarfs or Humans Fighters to have Mountaineer or Champion. Now you can mix all of these options to your liking. The only important recommendation I have here, or better to say important 3 recommendations, are have a freaking wizard in your team. Do not mix Paladin with Cleric in the same team, and pay attention on backgrounds to be different on your Rogue and your Ranger. Tips and tricks now, everything you need to know about the game and how to play the game. We're going to start with crafting. How do we craft? In order to craft, we need kits, herbalism kit for potions, smith tools to get those arrows and bolts, Manakalan rosary to craft different weapons and armor, Poisoner's kit to craft poison bolts, poison arrows, antidotes, and toxins, and scroll kit in order to learn spells from scrolls. So how do we craft, for example, a sword? Doomblade Greatsword. During your adventuring, you'll come up on recipes, or you can also buy them from traders, and they will look like this. Once you right-click on it, there's a read, you just press on it, and now you know how to craft Fang poisoned arrows. Now all of that same rule applies for armor, for potions, for everything that you can think about. Once you have specific ingredients, and you learn the scroll or a book for a recipe, you'll be able to craft items. All you need to do is start crafting, and it's gonna show the time, how long it needs to craft a specific item. Now, the most important question, and a lot of people ask me, how do you craft weapons and armor? Because you cannot find primed battle axe, primed armors, primed long swords. You can find ingredients, okay, oil of acuteness, you can find Doom Gem, you can find, I don't know what else, Blood Rabbi, you can also buy it. But how on earth do we do this? Prime Battle Axe, Prime Chainmail, and so on. It's very simple. Trader over here, Headlong Sure Spell. This guy sells most of the primed weapons in the game, as well as primed armors. All you need to do is buy, for example, let's take primed breastplate, and we say conclude, and now it's gonna appear in our crafting system here. Breastplate of deflection. It requires a mithril stone and a prime breastplate. That's all you need to do in order to craft all of these specific armor and weapons. That's about it. If you hover and press Alt, you'll see what the current item is. When it says magical, detect magic will resolve the issue, and then you need to Indetify, but we're gonna talk about it a bit later. All you need to do now is start crafting, and in 48, I believe it's hours, yeah, in 48 hours the armor will be ready. Same applies for all other items in the game. You get a recipe, you get ingredients, you get primed stuff, and you click on a craft. You need Mana Kalan Rosary to craft. It's simple as that. You won't find that many primed weapons and armor along your adventure. The only way is to buy from Headlong Sure Spell. Now, how do we buy from Headlong Sure Spell when he doesn't sell anything at the beginning, alright? You need Faction Alliance to be positive. How do you get it? By giving them relics that you find along your adventure. You'll find a lot of different relics, and you get 6 factions to pick from. Best by far are Antiquarians, Sure Spell, he belongs to Arcanium, and Circle of the Nantar. The rest of them doesn't matter that much, but this is what counts. Scavengers are a different topic, and I'm gonna speak about them very soon. So these 3 should get all the relics that you find along the way. All you need to do is click on them and give them your relics. You'll get money out of it, and you'll get new items to buy in their inventory. Basically, that's all there is about crafting. It's not that complicated, you just need to know where to buy what. So, on the main map, we do it once again. Here, in the Arcanium, for Sure Spell, we go with armor, and primed weapons. Here, with Halman's Summer, you'll have a lot of different trinkets, belts, boots, gloves, helmets, rings, amulets, cloaks that you need to attune. More about attunement later. This one is very important. And here you'll already get some unique armor and unique weapons with Joriel Foxside. That's all you need to know about crafting and gear. Now we're gonna speak about Scavengers faction. It's very simple. All you need to do at the start is start the quest with Scavengers. Once you complete the map, Scavengers will go to the map and loot everything that you could not carry along the way. How you get it back? You go for this notice board, click on it, close it, and up we go, all the items that you forgot along the way. You pick what you like to pick, what you think is good, what you think it's not. You just go and sell all, bam, you got money, you got gear that you forgot. So you don't have to worry about looting everything there is. You loot only the best items and ingredients along with recipes when you go for different maps. That's how scavengers work. Also, here close by there's a bounty board. You're gonna get side quests for easy money, easy experience, and a lot of interesting missions. Make sure that you visit this bounty board non-stop so you get those side quests and finish them. Next question is where to buy detect magic and Indetify items. I already said and I gave options that you have detect magic on one of your classes. It's very simple how to use it. All you need to do is click detect magic. After he does this thing, all right, he's gonna detect all magic items in your inventory. By all, I mean all. The question mark is gonna appear. Let me see if I got some items with a question. There we go. Hexagonal ring will appear with a question mark. All you need to do now is Indetify. If you don't have Indetify, and the only way to Indetify is with a pearl, once you're out of pearl and you have Indetify spell, you won't be able to Indetify items. It's very important to Indetify items. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get to the best trader, or better to say the cheapest trader to Indetify, and that would be this trader over here, Priestess of Pakri. She is by far the best to detect magic and Indetify items. Or better to say, you always have detect magic, but you won't have Indetify, alright, because of the pearls. Pearls are very few in the game, and unfortunately, you'll spend them extremely fast. Keep them just when you're adventuring and find some very good +3 or +2 weapon to Indetify. Do not use pearls to Indetify bullshit gear. Over here is the cheapest way you can Indetify items. It's only 21. All you need to do now is find the item that you want to Indetify. For example, this ring. Click, bam, it's Indetified, and you can see that it's attunement item. Now we're gonna go to the attunement. The best seller by far for the attunement are Antiquarians, or better to say, Halman Summer. We're gonna go to him. Once we go to him, we're gonna check everything there is now about attunement. This is where magic happens, and this is how you get stronger. All of these items that you see here that Halman sells, they are extremely important. Make sure that you read everything. Although I can easily suggest what's the best starting option. For example, the thing I'm wearing here on my paladin will get Constitution of 19 if you attune item. This one will get all the saving throws, that one will give armor class and saving throws, okay, and so on for every class that you can see here. I'm gonna hover what I took so you see what to buy, alright? Strength score increased to 19, proficiency in all languages, again Constitution, Gauntlets of Ogre Power to give strength plus 19, let me see what's this, saving throws, armor class, and by far the best ones that you can get for the start on your ranger would be bracers of archery. Make sure you have them early on. They're very important, alright? How do we attune? We can only attune items when we go to a short rest. So we take a short rest, start a short rest, now attunement will appear. You go to attune item, alright, the item you want to attune. You got exactly 3 spots to attune. Pick one of your many attunement gear and just let me remove some to show you. For example, you got an empty spot, 3 empty spots, and now I had this, okay, Cloak of Protection. It says it requires attunement. It won't give you this and it won't work. It won't give +1 to all saving throws or armor class. You need to put it here and say close, and then it's gonna be attuned to your current character. Alright? That's how attunement works. You buy it off from Halman, you get a short sleep, you go to attune, and you attune item, and only then does it count. What potions to use and when? Along the way, you'll get a lot of healing potions. There's nothing to say about it specifically. You need to detect magic, Indetify all potions. Yeah, you heard me well. All potions need to be detected and Indetified, and then you can use them. All right. So healing classic, heals up, and so on. The potions that I want to talk about right now are potions of giant strength. There is frost, fire, and cloud. Make sure to use this only and only for boss fights if you cannot win. Alright? Specific potions like invisibility potion, permanent attack damage. Okay, this one, for example, of sharpness, if you apply this one, your weapon instead of +2 will be +5. Alright, you apply it on a weapon, and then the weapon becomes +5. Okay, +3 would become +6, and so on. This is how you use potions. Please detect magic, identify them, then use them. Keep them for hardest fights in the game. Pre-buffs and when to use them. Just before the battle, you'll be in a sneaking mode, and then you will want to use your bless, alright, aid, cast light. What I usually do, because you're gonna fight in darkness non-stop, you want to cast light on items so you can actually see enemies. I do it like on 2 or 3 of them, alright, before every fight. All you need to do is this. And now there's light around them. As you can see, in dark areas, you'll hit more often if you're standing in light. Alright, same now goes about blessing. You just click on a bless, you apply bless on all, and pay attention on concentration spells. Alright, that's very important, because bless is concentration. You can only have one concentration spell per character. Alright, so pay attention. You cannot cast bless, for example, and let me see, and branding smite. It's either branding smite or a bless. Same applies for your wizard. Alright, if you cast, for example, black tentacles, you won't be able to cast conjure elemental. Alright, that's how the game works. So you can cast other spells that are not concentration. How do you keep concentration? You keep concentration by not getting hit. Alright, that's the only way. When you get hit, your concentration is broken, hence your spell is also broken. Bless will disappear, in other words. Tentacles will disappear. Conjure elemental, your elemental will turn against his summoner. Alright, or better to say, he's gonna turn against your whole team, and so on. So have that in mind. Concentration works only one spell per character. What are the best spells in the game? Quite simple. For a paladin, it's Sacred Weapon and Turn the Unholy against Undead. The best by far is Lay on Hands. For a wizard, the most powerful spell in the game is Black Tentacles. By far, it's gonna restrain enemies and they're gonna remain in a spot as long as the battle lasts and you keep concentration on. This is the most OP spell in the game. The best spell for a wizard is a Magic Missile. You can always cast Magic Missile empowered if you have this spell slots here. One of the best spells in the game also for a wizard is a Fireball. Very good spell that I use very often was Lightning Bolt, as well as Shatter. Alright. You need to have one defensive spell just before you get hit, and that would be Shield. One of the best spells in the game, as far as exploring goes, is Fly. Because with Fly, you can reach every chest on the map, and that's a fact. For Ranger, Hunter's Mark is by far the best spell that you can get. And make sure you have good berries, because it's very good when you travel on a map to have free food for everyone in your team, so you don't have to carry a lot of rations. On our Shadowcaster Rogue, for example, Detect Magic is very useful. Blur is very good, so you don't get hit. And, of course, Shield, so you can cast it just before you get hit. For Cleric as well, for Paladins, Bless is the most important spell. Very good spell on a Cleric is Thunder Wave, because you can push opponents off cliffs and insta-kill them. Healing Word, of course, Cure Wounds, Lay on Hands, everything that heals is useful. Bark Skin is quite good, Acid Arrow is very good on a Cleric, Mass Healing is OP, and Haste is probably the best spell in the game. Why? because instead of swinging once, you're gonna swing twice. Instead of swinging twice after level 6, or better say level 5, you're gonna swing 3 times, shoot 3 times, and so on. Haste, when applied, it's a concentration spell. It's very good on your, let's say, ranger or a fighter, because they will swing a lot and they will burst a lot if you apply haste on them. Make sure that you have haste applied before fight as a pre-buff. Daylight is absolutely amazing, but if you use Sparkle, okay, or if you use Light, then you don't need Daylight. Battle tactics now, sneaking and your primary targets in fights. Make sure to always, absolutely always sneak with light around your character, with light on when you explore dungeons, okay? Your primary targets should be mages. This is a skeleton mage, for example, all right? So make sure to sneak, align your team, click one by one, make sure they all are in a good spot, preferably on high ground, all right? And if you attack first, you're gonna get an entire free round to wreck your opponents. If the fight is way too tough, make sure to apply 3 buffs that I was speaking about just before you would enter the fight. Enemies are surprised, as you can see here, and they're gonna lose an entire round, which means you're gonna play for 2 rounds before they play. That's more than enough time to burst out squishes and leave big guys to handle them later, alright? Like Skeletal Knight. So your primary targets should be Sorcerer, then Archers, then these Wights, Ghosts, whatever they are, and then at the end, Knights will take 2 full turns to arrive from over here to your team. That's all there is to know. Every battle should be triggered with sneaking mechanics, pre-buffs, light, and killing squishes. From level 1 to level 10, you will get to pick, when you level up, I believe it's on level 4 and on level 7, a free feat or 2 ability scores when you level up. I took ability scores on all characters because feats really provide little, they're bad, and all you need to do is pick ability score choice when you level up. Make sure you do it once you are a required level. The last thing I want to speak about is the world map, traversing the world map, and the question that I got a lot, do we use short pace, fast pace, or a normal pace when we're traveling? I usually use normal pace in 90% of cases. Fast pace if it's something very close by and it takes less than a day. Whenever you see 2 days plus, make sure you go with a normal pace because it's a lower chance you get ambushed, alright? On a fast pace, you'll get ambushed quite often. Just make sure you pick normal pace. That's about it with this game. As I said, a quick summary. Light is the way to win, sneaking is the way to win, triggering fights first is the way to win, knowing how to craft, where to buy prime gear is the way to win, knowing where to buy recipes and how to read recipes is the way to win, okay? Knowing how to traverse the map is also a very good way to win and do it faster, alright? It was a shorter ultimate guide, but then again, this game is shorter than other CRPGs. I hope this guide helped you, and I'll be seeing you on the next one.